not much remained after the war. Only ruins, darkness, and fear. Humanity retreated underground into the tunnels of the Moscow metro, where the remnants of civilization fight for bare survival. But even here, deep in the concrete bowels, an old evil is reviving. An evil called the Reich. The Reich is originally called the Fourth Reich and represents one of the darkest and most brutal factions of the Moscow metro. It is inspired by neo-Nazi ideology and seeks to purge the metro of all living beings that do not meet its idea of genetic purity. Origin: the Reich was formed shortly after the nuclear war, when survivors from radical nationalist groups found refuge at the Tverskaya, Chekhovskaya, and Pushkinskaya stations. Initially, they operated as small clans of extremists and criminals who, after the chaos on the surface, decided to build a purely Russian utopia, a society based on the ideology of racial superiority. Ideology. The main pillar of the empire is extreme nationalism and fascist ideology, drawing on the dark legacy of the Third Reich. Their worldview is based on the pseudo-scientific idea of genetic purity and fanatical hatred of mutants, foreigners, and especially members of other ethnic groups or minorities. Terror is a tool for them. It serves to consolidate power, suppress resistance, and create absolute obedience. Anyone who does not meet their physical or racial standards, especially people affected by mutations, due to radiation, is automatically considered inferior. Such individuals are often executed without trial or mercy. The empire controls several key stations, particularly on the Sokolnicheskaya and Arbatsko-Pokrovskaya lines. These stations form the heavily guarded core of their territory and serve as bases for further expansion and the spread of ideology across the metro. The empire is led by the Führer, whose real name and exact whereabouts are not explicitly revealed anywhere, either in the book or game. In Metro Last Light and later in Metro 2035, it becomes clear that his influence extends far beyond his direct presence. He influences events through his loyal representatives in the field. A strictly hierarchical power structure operates under the Führer. Individual station districts and military units are commanded by Sturmbannführers, senior officers, responsible for order, organization, and executive power within their sectors. These commanders also oversee the activities of the regime's most feared instrument, the Reich's Gestapo. The Reich Gestapo is a secret police force tasked with overseeing ideological purity. It persecutes opponents of the regime, carries out raids, conducts interrogations, and ensures that every inhabitant of the territory, under the Reich's rule, conforms to their idea of a pure citizen. Fear, suspicion, and denunciation are a common part of everyday life in this totalitarian society. Armed forces of the Reich. Although the Reich does not have as large an army as the Hanseatic League or the Red Line, it excels in fanatical discipline, ideological unity, and rigorous training. Its units are armed with reliable and modified versions of Kalashnikov assault rifles, flamethrowers, and, when necessary, improvised heavy equipment. Reich stalkers form the elite of the Reich's armed forces. These are special reconnaissance and strike units that operate primarily on the surface, where they carry out deadly search operations, focused on supplies and hunting mutants, or sabotage the positions of enemy factions. They receive orders directly from the Empire's central station and operate with complete loyalty to the Führer. Slavery and concentration camps of the Empire. The Empire maintains its power not only through weapons, but also through fear. Terror is part of the system. Prisoners from surrounding stations, opponents of the regime, and individuals who do not meet pure genetic standards are systematically deported to concentration camps, where they are forced to work in inhumane conditions. Prisoners serve as cheap labor, experimental subjects in medical research, or a tool to intimidate the civilian population. Life in the camp is considered a form of punishment, and death a release. The elimination of undesirable individuals is not an exception, but part of normal practice. The conditions in the camp are drastic. Forced labor in the extraction of old materials, medical experiments aimed at treating mutations, and forced recruitment into the Reich army. Every day here is a struggle for survival, not against the world around them, but against a system that considers cruelty a virtue. The Empire and the Red Line. The conflict between the communist Red Line and the Fascist Empire, is one of the longest-running wars in the Metro, lasting from 2033 until the events of Metro 2035. The battle for the bridge is an example of total war. Blocked tunnels, constant firefights between tunnels, and the Empire's attempt to gain control of the Lubyanka-Tverskaya line. In 2034-2035, the Red Line launched a major offensive campaign to completely destroy the Empire. Although the Red Line practically won in the book version of Metro 2035, in the game versions Metro Last Light and Metro Exodus, the war is still raging. After the end of the Great Battle for the D6 bunker, this event indirectly affected the Empire. It took advantage of the chaos on the surface to expand its influence. Although they failed to occupy the bunker, in the following months, they reorganized their forces and reinforced concentration camps for prisoners from the Red Line and the Hanseatic League. They also introduced reforms to consolidate their power. Metro 2035 states that the Empire underwent internal reforms to attract new members and mask its horrors in exchange for a peaceful confession. Their stations have been given a new look, cleaner corridors, offensive propaganda proclaiming respect for the Russian people, while in reality the Gestapo behind the walls continues to persecute ethnic minorities, mutants, and political enemies. The Empire and the Hanseatic League. The Empire and the Hanseatic League have tense but practical relations. The Hanseatic League avoids open war with the Empire so as not to jeopardize trade. Although they have different ideologies, they have sometimes traded with each other. For example, the Empire obtained ammunition in exchange for prisoner labor. However, the Hanseatic League refuses to sell weapons to the Empire, which led to skirmishes in the north when the Empire attacked part of the trade route. The Empire, Polis, and Spartan Rangers. The Empire controls stations near the road to Polis, where the Metropolitan Council is based. There is therefore great mistrust between them. In Metro Last Light, the Empire threatens to attack if the Rangers do not stop the Red Line. The Rangers do not cooperate with the Empire, but the Empire usually avoids them, respecting their fight against the mutants. Nevertheless, the Empire dreams of attacking Polis, capturing its leaders and taking control of the Council. Theories and interpretations: the Empire does not use the swastika, but a three-armed symbol, the Triskelion. It is supposed to represent the purity of the Neo-Aryan race, but at the same time avoids any connection with historical Nazism. According to some, this is an attempt to adapt Nazi ideas to the Russian environment. Experiments and biological weapons. The book Metro 2035 states that the Empire conducts experiments on mutants in camps. They are trying to create genetically modified beings as a weapon against enemies, such as the Red Line. Escapes from these camps speak of testing substances that increase aggression. Although these experiments are not mentioned in the games, they appear on fan sites. Relationship with the Invisible Watchers. The Invisible Watchers control important resources: technology, weapons, ammunition. Fans believe that the Empire also benefits from this. For example, it receives chemicals or access to secret bunkers. Although sponsorship is not confirmed, the Reich acts as if it is following instructions to maintain chaos. Speculation about the Führer. Some players believe that the Führer lives on the surface in a secret bunker and directs attacks from there. This would explain why the Reich appears where other factions cannot obtain resources. Although this is not confirmed in the books or games, it is possible that the Empire has access to surface farms or army warehouses. And that's all there is to this faction from Metro. What do you think about it, whether you've played the game or read the book from this world? I'd love for you to share your thoughts with us in the comments, whether it's an opinion, experience, or comment. Also, if you enjoyed the video and found it interesting, I'd appreciate it if you left a like and subscribed. Good luck in the tunnels. See you next time at the next station or faction.